Hello, how are you doing? And welcome to episode 10, folks. Can you believe I'm still doing this? Okay. I am here with Victoria Olson, and we will be talking about how to prep for a conference. Okay, Victoria, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Excellent. Thanks for asking. So, for those who may be watching this and wondering, who is Victoria Olson? Okay, Victoria, who is Victoria Olson?
I'm a grade 3-4 teacher and technology teacher at West Langley Elementary in Langley, British Columbia, Canada. And I work with a lot of teachers in my district and province on tech integration in the classroom as a technology coach. So.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Victoria has been everywhere. I've seen her pictures. She loves to travel and loves to Google. I saw you at the Google campus. I was like, why can't I be at the Google campus with everyone else? Because it looks fantastic. So we're here preparing for a conference. A lot of conferences are starting to roll around in the summer. Big one for me will be ISTE, first time ever going. So for those who are saying, okay, I'm excited, never been to a conference, or even for those who have been but are thinking, what more, how can I better prepare? You are thinking about a conference. What sort of goes through your mind at first in preparing for it?
The first thing I think about is how big the conference is, and what kind of people I'm going to be seeing there. So sometimes it can be, prepping for an ed camp, and thinking about what you want to be bringing up as a topic. So that's going to be different than going to ISTE, where you're going to there's session overload and there's all these different things that you can tap into and you can't take it all in. So there's very different ways that you can approach the conferences depending on the size and then also depending on where it is. So if it's in a place that I've never been before and I'm going to meet a lot of people from my personal learning network there that I've never met before, I might take more time to network and be social in those spaces as much as I can and make a point of going to the session of that person that I might not see again for a really long time.
Okay, you mentioned your personal network and Twitter. And before you go to a conference, do you reach out to people and say, hey, I'm going to this conference, let's meet up?
Yeah, definitely. When I was getting ready to go to Q, which was the conference in California that just happened in March, there was a whole bunch of us that made plans to hang out and have dinner, and some of us even planned a road trip because I was actually in Northern California and then Q was in Palm Springs, so some of us actually drove down together, and so we planned that all beforehand, all through Twitter. So, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that if you have these connections and you see people talking about it, often these conferences have a hashtag. I recommend following those hashtags and watching them before the conference happens. I mean, for example, ISTE, that hashtag was being used already since last year, and especially once the presentation acceptances go out, then you have all the people that are saying, oh, are you going? I'm going, cool, so-and-so's presenting, and they're talking about it already. So if you engage or just even watch those conversations, then you'll have an idea of who's going to be there.
Yeah, I've reached out to folks saying, hey, I'm going to ISTE, let's do this, let's get together, because I'm excited about going. So you've mentioned you reached out to people. You've mentioned how you sort of get an idea whether it be large or small, what are my sort of expectations at that point. Now, what about your tech? I wrote a blog post a while ago, was talking about, okay, these are some of the tech tools I suggest you bring to a conference, which is sort of outdated now because a lot of smartphones now have better video cameras and better cameras in general, still cameras, so you don't actually need to bring a flip cam or something with you. But from your experiences, what tech do you bring and what do you use the tech for once there?
I would say it depends on if the Wi-Fi is working, and I know that sounds like, yeah, you're at a technology conference, the Wi-Fi should work, but that's probably one of the most common problems because everybody and their dog brings like 3 devices, right?
Yes.
So That was a problem at Q. So, and as a presenter, that's a problem. So it depends on if you're a presenter and you're going to a conference. I recommend you have your laptop with you and you bring like a hardwire adapter so that you can hardwire yourself onto internet if that's available in your presenting room. But if you're just attending, it depends. Like some people really like tablets. I personally like my MacBook Air, but I think as time goes on, because I keep most of my notes on a Google Doc, I think I would switch to a Chromebook for a conference just because it's a little lighter, the battery lasts forever and ever, and all I really need is the internet for what I'm doing anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be bringing my Chromebook with me to ISTE because it does have fantastic battery life. Definitely because I can really tell the difference in my work bag when I actually have the MacBook in there with my Chromebook, because then it's like, oh my gosh, what am I lugging around? And if I have that iPad in there, then it's over. So I try to keep certain devices home and just take the MacBook with me when I know I'll be presenting in terms of I need to connect to a projector.
Yeah, I would still bring your MacBook though, because in the case that the Wi-Fi is not good, the
Mm-hmm.
Chromebook does nothing for you. So you have to be really, really careful about watching and kind of assessing what the situation is. Maybe on the first day you take the gamble and bring the Chromebook and your tablet, and then if things aren't working out, at least you have your tablet to back you up. I ended up using my phone a whole lot at Q during the sessions, and just like you said, taking photos of slides if I wanted links to stuff, or if I just needed to remember specifics. So, like it just depends on the environment, really.
Okay. And so this is one of the things that is big for me, but it's very interesting because if anyone has ever seen any of my pictures on Twitter, they know that I dress and I wear suspenders, dress slacks, ties, the whole thing. This is every day for me, and I do it at conferences as well. But I will not be doing it at ISTE in Atlanta in June, late June. Not happening. Um, so some of y'all is gonna be a big shocker to see me in some very, very, very casual clothing. Um, when you are sitting there, you have your tech together. Okay, you say, I know I'm gonna bring this. I've contacted people. I've connected. I said, okay, I'm coming. Let's meet up here. Let's do this. Now, when you're trying to pack and you're thinking about what will I present in, what will I wear every day, is there a night function that I'm going to be going to? How do you plan your wardrobe for in that instance? And in terms of packing, do you try to go as light as possible with your bags, or do you just say, forget it, I'm bringing what I'm bringing?
Well, I'm flying down. I fly down this my last day of school, and I'm on a red eye that night. So I pretty much have to be ready to go. I don't really have a choice. um, I don't know. I mean, it depends on where you are. So we were at Q in Palm Springs, and it was hot, but I brought clothes that I felt comfortable enough in, but still felt professional in,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to put anything, maybe not generalize this, but there is a gender difference too. I think women are more expected to always look nice, no matter what. And if a guy's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, it's kind of more okay. You guys get away with it a little easier than we do. I mean, if I wore my shorts to a professional conference, it wouldn't be good because people would be like, "Whoa, they're too short," or whatever. I don't know. So it's one of those things that I just try to keep in mind. Often it's capri pants for me, and they're kind of dressy, but kind of that stretchy material, so I can get that. Like there's a ton of walking. That's all I have to say. Wear comfortable shoes and bring more than one pair of shoes. I wore flip flops all week at Q, and I had the same ones every day. So it was, it's tough. But I wouldn't have worn closed-toed shoes even to present because it was so hot. So you got to be mindful of what the temperatures you're going into, and that you still need to be comfortable but look good.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the shoes, because I never really thought about quote unquote, multiple pairs of shoes. Now, I bought myself some Skechers because I was told that it's going to be huge, very spread out, so I need to be able to walk. I know I'm going casual, so I bought me some Skechers tennis, but I do know that I'll be bringing some dress shoes for the nighttime going out, meeting people, networking, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
but I may have to bring me just something else as well.
I recommend the shoes because during the day, even if you're going to different sessions that are spread out all over the place, or for me, for example, I probably won't spend my whole time just at sessions. I really like to do networking during the day, actually. Getting one-on-one time with specific educators is really, really helpful depending on what you're looking for. But then all of those people who end up networking want to go for lunch together, and lunch is, like a 10-block walk or whatever it is, and you're walking all over the place. So it ended up, and if you drove, if you had to park, often because these conferences are so huge, you're parking quite a few blocks away as well. So you have to think about those factors, and we put on a lot of miles at Q. So.
Wow. See now you have my mind going. Okay, what is this going to be like now? So we didn't really plan, or I thought I wasn't going to talk about this, but since you have brought this up more than once about the networking, um, do you have a plan for how you sort of network, or is it just an issue of, hey, I see such and such over there. Oh, I see somebody over there. We know each other. Let's hang out. Let's get to know each other. We know each other from Twitter. Or do you actually have a purpose for networking of, I have a list of these 3 things that I want to get out of networking, and that's what I'm here to do?
I don't really I'm not as structured like that. Like, I don't have a plan like that. I like to get to know the people behind what they're sharing online. So for me, when I see, so there's 2 things. One is you kind of go there and you know who's going to be there, and you're like, okay, I know this person, this person, this person that I haven't met yet. I want to meet them. I want to have a conversation with them. Whatever that looks like, doesn't matter. All I want to do is have a face-to-face. And that's kind of your mission. But another thing is, sometimes you walk into these rooms and you're like, hey, I didn't know they were going to be here. And you kind of see somebody that you didn't realize you were going to meet. And then you try to, edge your way in to meet them, or you recognize them. And there's that awkward moment when they might not recognize you because you don't look exactly like your avatar or whatever, because all of a sudden you have a body and not just a head. Yeah, so there is that piece too where you kind of just see people and it comes out of nowhere. So I don't think you can ever fully plan exactly what your networking experience will look like. But let's just say you happen to know, someone is going to be there who talks about, I don't know, like one-to-one iPad integration. That's what they always talk about on Twitter, and you're going to kind of do that next year. So you want to have a conversation with that person one-on-one because you want to learn some tips and tricks for your rollout or whatever. Like, that might be your mission if you know that person's there. So it depends on how structured you are. For me, I'm just more interested in getting to know them as people, because I talk to them online and they're kind of always there for me to get that information from any other time. When I'm face-to-face, I want to share, like just a personal experience, whether it's just going out for dinner or just sitting in a blogger's cafe and talking for 20 minutes.
Okay, all right. Now, this may sound a little cheesy, but do you recommend that people get a T-shirt with their Twitter handle on there, so they get there and people go, oh, that's such and such, because it kind of crossed my mind, but I don't want to, get there and have one, and then people are like, so, well, what do you think about that?
I think it makes people easily identifiable, specifically if A, they don't look like their photo, or B, they don't have an avatar that's their name. So for me, I'm Ms. Victoria Olson. That's not really a big deal as much for me, because when I have my name tag out, people are like, hey, you're Victoria Olson, that's cool, because you have these big badges at conferences typically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen people have the T-shirt and it just rocks, because people will see them from behind and say, hey, that's so-and-so. Like my BC EdChat co-mod Jeremy Insco has a T-shirt with his big Twitter handle in the back, so of course then everybody knows it's Jeremy, which is really helpful, because he might not see someone he wanted to connect with, but they see him. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's more common at a place like ISTE, as opposed to a smaller conference like I've gone to Q Rockstar in the summer last year, or an ed camp. You're not going to necessarily see as many people that you wouldn't normally see if it's in your region already. So, yeah.
Okay, so note to self: get one Twitter shirt, just to kind of pop out there and go, hey, because I've recently, about 3 weeks ago, actually changed my Twitter handle, and people, I guess, who have been interacting with me have noticed it. So I may, I don't want to say I am Dr. Will, formerly People Gaji, so people are like, oh, I know People Gaji, but I need to do that. Um, okay, so I've heard that certain conferences, particularly earlier you mentioned, let's say a big conference, and I'll get back to this. Today is a huge, huge, huge major conference. So when you are at home, you get the book, they send you saying, okay, here's a list of these workshops, or they send you an email saying, check out what's going to happen. How do you go about choosing which conferences you go to, and where do you put a priority over sessions versus networking with people?
I think it all goes towards what I'm kind of looking to do, honestly. So when I'm choosing the conferences that I attend, quite honestly, it's just what has to do with good breaks in my calendar. So, for example, Q was during my spring break. I didn't have to take any time away from my kids to go there. ISTE is after school is done, so I don't have to worry about missing any time with them. But there's other conferences. There's a conference here in Kelowna, BC, which is about 4 or 5 hours from where I live, and that's happening during school time. So I'm very picky and choosy about the ones that I'm going to miss out on for my kids, and those ones tend to be more local. So if I'm going to miss any time, it's going to be because I'm bringing things back to my own province and my own district typically. I'm not saying that will always be the case, but that's kind of what I try to do now, because I think it's important to always give back to where you come from. And so that's kind of the piece around choosing. Now, more often than not, because I have such a strong friend base in California, because that's where I've kind of been going, I feel that that's where I tend to choose to continue to go, because I keep meeting people and strengthening those relationships. So that's like my, home away from home educationally. But when you go to looking at the actual sessions that are at these conferences, it's kind of just like, who do I want to see present? So often what will happen is I'll be recommended to go to these presenters that I might not even be interested in the content that they present necessarily, but people rave about how they deliver their materials and so forth. So I don't know if you're familiar with John Carippo. His Twitter handle's jcarippo, but he's out in California, and he's just awesome. Like, go watch this guy present any chance you get. It doesn't matter what he's presenting. He's funny, he's engaging, he's fun, and you'll learn some really, really dorky things, because he's just so good at knowing all these little tips and tricks about lots of Apple stuff. He's a big Apple guy. So, just going to see John Carippo talk about using Keynote effectively and all these little tricks that I might not use with my kids necessarily, but they're cool things for me to just know as a presenter, or know they exist on the Mac, and something I can kind of play with and tweak later on or use for grad school or whatever. So that's kind of a piece. If there's someone presenting that's been you have to go see them, yes, I'm going to go see them. And sometimes you just get tired. Like, in the middle of the day, I might have planned to go to a session, after lunch, and we're kind of all hanging out, and it's fun, and we're yakking with the folks at lunch, and you kind of go, well, it's okay if I don't go to that session, because we can continue our conversation, walk back a little later, catch up with a couple folks that are hanging out, and go to session 4 or whatever. So.
Excellent. This is awesome. See, now you're talking about, now I have to get on my pre-ISTE workout plan, so I can comfortably do all that walking and on all of that stuff. So before we leave, okay, because we're going to get out of here, what kind of parting shots or final advice do you have for people attending conferences?
Pack light, good shoes, lots of water, and just be present. Be present with the people there. Don't sit on your phone and tweet. It's important to tweet and it's important to like throw out what it is you're learning, but be present because this is just, like there's very few times. ISTE is one of those times where there's a lot of ed tech folks together, a lot of folks from the PLN together. So just be there with them and enjoy and disconnect even though you're connecting, if that makes any sense.
Yes, yes. And we did not know that we were going to be having Victoria Chopra with us today, bringing her wisdom of mindfulness. So we thank you, Victoria,
Yeah.
for coming here today and spreading the knowledge. And will you be going to this ISTE?
I will be going to ISTE.
Then I will finally see you in person.
Yes.
And I'm so excited because I've never been. Right?
Yeah,
And then
neither have I. I didn't go last year.
yeah, I was tweeting with those people not at ISTE. Remember that the hashtag not at ISTE?
Yeah, I kind of started that up with Dennis Grice.
Yeah.
We started doing Google Hangouts on it, and it just kind of snowballed. But
Yes. So I will be at ISTE this year, and I submitted a proposal to do an Ignite session.
excellent.
So thank you. So if I get it, you get to see me sort of do what I do on a regular basis. And so hopefully everything will be well and fantastic and wonderful. And I will leave ISTE renewed to get back to work, which I have found out will be earlier than expected because we are doing a one-to-one rollout in August, and we'll be training teachers to prepare them for that. So again, thank you very much, Victoria, for coming. Thank you, viewers, for watching the Dr. Will Show, and we hope to see you next time.